How creative friends, my name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my channel, and look what I got. I got my curated bead box for the month of August, and it is so amazing. I have to preface this unboxing and project video by saying I think this is one of the best boxes they've done all year. There's some really special things in it that I love, and I was very inspired. So if you're not familiar with Curated Bead Box, this is a value box. It is extremely inexpensive. It's a monthly subscription box, and it generally has really long strands of glass beads, crackle glass beads, and that kind of thing, but they mix in some findings, and it always comes with a little findings pack for different ways of stringing and crimping and that kind of thing. So I'll show you that when we get to it. The little list of ingredients is right here on the front of the box, and then you can go on the website and with these codes order more if you loved anything. And they always put a little disclaimer on the box that sometimes from box to box the types or sizes of the beads may vary, but everyone always gets the same quantity. So if you're newer to jewelry making, it's a great way to build up your stash and get a lot of practice in with all different things as far as stringing material. So each month there's a findings pack that comes in the box, and it includes jump rings, lobster claw clasps, some stretch cord, some memory wire, some bead stringing wire, some head pins, some crimp beads that you can just flat crimp. And so again, it is a great way if you are just jumping into jewelry making to try some different methods of stringing, crimping, and that kind of thing. So I really love this box. I've been getting it for years, even before I was on YouTube. And this month's box is called Regal Royal. I want to say Regal Royale because it is really beautiful. I mean, look how stunning this collection is. As I said, to me, I think this is one of the best boxes that they have done all year. So I'm going to start with the 10mm strands, and the first one is absolutely stunning. It is a lilac glass pearl, and there is an 8-inch strand of beads here, and these have like a nice weight to them, and what a stunning color. I absolutely love this color. It's gorgeous. And then one of my very favorite things in this box is this 10mm purple crackle frosted glass. This is a 6-inch strand, and it is just stunning. I don't know how it's dark, so I'm not sure if you're able to see the crackle, and that also gives a little bit of variation to the purple in this bead. But I love that. I'm going to be using that in my projects. And by the way, at the end of my unboxing, I'm going to do at least one project, maybe even two. I already have two designed, so I just don't want the video to be too long. So I'll decide if I'm going to put them both after the unboxing or not. So stay with me, and we'll get to creating together. Next up is a 10mm white opaque gemstone bead, and it is just beautiful. It has a nice weight. I don't know if you can hear like the sound of the beads touching each other, which for me, you know, is just lovely because I love beads. But this is a beautiful, it's just a lovely, like nice neutral gemstone. Look how it pops with all the purples. And then this is another favorite in the box because I love lapis lazuli, and this is an 8mm. It's a little bit rough. Obviously, I think it's been dyed, but it is lapis lazuli, and it's a really nice size, and I think that might even make its way into at least one of my projects. And then this is a pretty common bead for Curated Bead Box. This is a 6mm purple spot marble style glass, but a full 10-inch strand. So as I said, if you're just starting your bead collection, this is a great way to build up some supplies to work with. And it's a really pretty bead. Like, it has a little bit of turquoise in there, and it has those little like Dalmatian spots. It's a really, really pretty bead. And then this is such a huge long strand. This is a 6mm dark purple glass bead, and there is a 16-inch strand here. I mean, this is just a beautiful bead. It's just a glass pearl, but it is lovely, and look at that gorgeous color. Such a nice complement to the other beads. And then this one is also a 6mm, and they're calling it a white semi-opaque gemstone bead. It's a 7.5-inch strand. It looks to me like it might be rose quartz, but one that's not very pink. But they just say gemstone. But you know, it's a nice addition. It is a gemstone bead. And then up next we got about 1 ounce. It's called, oh, I'm sorry, let me try that again. About 1 ounce. It's called a Regal Designer Glass Bead Mix. And it had some of these little purple with the white Dalmatian spots, a few of the pink and white like marble style glass beads, some of these little egg-shaped beads in purple and turquoise that have the silver band. Just like a fun little mix. There's a few little shapes in here. And then the next little bead that we got is something that will also be going into at least one of my projects. This is a 12 millimeter Blue Moon Galaxy glass bead. Let me just get a little head pin here so I can get my fingers out of the way. Look at this cool bead. Isn't it beautiful? Like, it's a little bit color shifting, and it has a really nice size hole, so you could string leather on this, waxed Brazilian cord, polyester cord, you know, a really nice thick gauge of wire can go through there. It's just a really fun bead to work with, and there were 6 of them in this box. And then we got this little milky white oval bead. It's like shaped like an egg. It's a 14 by 10 millimeter, and we got 8 of them. And again, it's just a cool shape and just a great bead to add into a stringing pattern. Just really nice to have a nice little collection of that. And then I can't even believe this is in this box. There are 4 of these 12 millimeter maroon cloisonne beads. I love cloisonne beads. You can see the little metal shaping the flowers and leaves on the bead, and then the enamel filling in all the different colors. And the background color on this bead is that beautiful eggplant color, that rich, deep maroon, like the color of wine, like Bordeaux or something. It's absolutely beautiful. And there are 4 of them. So I guarantee this is going in both of my projects that I have designed. I love it. I mean, as I said, so I have favorites. As I said, I think this is the best box they've done all year, but this is gorgeous. It's gorgeous with this crackle glass bead and the lapis lazuli. I love the pearls. I mean, it's just really great. But I'm not done yet. This is something else that I love in this box. If you've been on my channel before, you know that I love working with cylindrical beads and oblong beads, and so we got a little mix of these silver cylinder spacer beads, and I just love them. You can create so many amazing shapes in your design when you go from rounds or drops or egg-shaped beads into an oblong like cylinder bead. They're just fabulous for coming up with great designs. And then we also got a little spacer bead mix. There are about 30 beads of this really pretty little kind of bumpy, really highly textured little silver disc spacer, and I love that too. Those are so great to have. And then this is stunning. Look at the pendant that came in the box this month. I mean, this is just gorgeous. It's not heavy at all. It has a tiny bit of weight, but it's not like super heavy. So you could really, with this, you could string this directly onto leather. You could make a bail. I am going to play with this pendant and embellish it. I have a couple of ideas. I also am going to be adding gold into the silver. Gold and silver mix is really on trend for 2024, but I think it's really classic, and when you create pieces that mix the metals, then it has more wearing options when you're finished creating. So I'm going to be adding gold into this pendant, and I just can't wait. And if you've been on my channel, you know that I love interchangeable jewelry and convertible jewelry, and so I have a wardrobe of leather chain, leather cord and different colors of chain, and so I usually create bails on my stunning pendants like this so that I can take them on and off of my different necklace bases. And so that's what I plan to do with this one as well. It is just so pretty. I mean, I really love it. I actually love the negative space, and I've been toying with whether to put a bead in the middle or just enjoy the negative space. It's just a really fun, beautiful pendant. So I'm going to just clean up my mat and come back with the first project. And as I said, I'm going to bring in some gold things. I've already pulled them out. I have some little stardust gold spacer beads that are in that same 10 millimeter. I have some of my own little cylinder spacer discs in the gold, like column beads. I have a button that is also from my stash. These are so pretty, and it was a pretty large quantity. It's an Amazon find, and they're just really nice quality and great to work with. I can link that below. And I've just pulled in some little discs that I may or may not use, but I have, like, I went in my stash and just got a whole bunch of gold disc spacers. And I also have some 24 gauge wire here. This is the Softflex company brand. It has an anti-tarnish coating, and I've just cut off my spool a little length. I measured with my heart. And then I have some 1mm metallic berry leather cord, and I think that's going to be my bracelet project. And so I get this from Bracelet Street USA, and I also shop, it's an Etsy shop, and I also shop Leather Cord USA from Etsy. So I don't remember where I got this, but that's where I usually get my leather from. So let me clean up my mat and cut open these beads and come back with the first project. Be right back. I made a little start on my pendant. So if you'll notice, the openings here would not give me a center by which I could hang a downward drop. So what I did, let me see if you can see, I've attached a jump ring on either side of that center spoke on this pendant. Can you see it? And then what my plan is to span another jump ring going this way, and this will be my first drop. And as I said, I'm adding in gold, so there's an alternation of gold and silver. My spacer beads and like my metals are going to alternate through the whole design. So that'll be the first drop on this pendant, and then I'm creating another one here with one of those beautiful cloisonne beads at the bottom, and just a little stack of gold and silver spacers. And just to stabilize this cylinder spacer, I just have a little gold filled bead. I love these. I can link them below. They're pretty inexpensive. They have some weight to them. It's an Amazon find, and I've been using them in my design since I found them. I really like them. But I didn't wire this one because I want to do a spiral here and then a simple loop on the top. And these are simple loops that were made with my 1.5mm one-step looper. So I'll show you how I did that. But before I get too much busyness on the pendant, I want to play with that 24 gauge wire and kind of float this bead in the middle. I also have gone into my stash, as I normally do, and pulled out some beautiful seed beads. I'm going to just put some of those out here. These are in a beautiful metallic purple and then a metallic gold, and I think I'm going to be using those once I get the wire in here, but it's a little bit of a free-form wire working project. Okay, just to show you again, I am using my Softflex wire. So I went up to the 20 gauge wire for these components where I'll be making simple loops, and then I'm using the exact same Softflex company wire in the 24 gauge. So it really works great for this. And so as I said, I know this is metallic on metallic, so I can hope you can see, but this is the center of the pendant, and I want to float a bead right here. So what I'm going to do is come with my wire on either side of that center spoke, if you will, and I'm just going to poke it down inside. And it's I always start with a lot of wire when I'm going to do something free form like this that's not exactly planned out. And for me, I have a little difficult time doing too much planning with wire, because I really just look for the natural path, whether I'm wrapping a seashell or a stone or, you know, adding wire to a pendant. So I'm just going to get my length of wire without kinking it, get it in here and get it really close to the pendant so I can start working with it. Okay, so you can barely see my gold wire on the front of the pendant, and that's okay with me. I actually wanted it to show a little bit more because I do want gold and silver metallics happening in this, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to add in a little bit heavier gold presence with my seed beads. And so if you can see, I just took my pliers and I just pulled it really tight. These are quite close together. So, you know, I'm just having to work, and I did end up with a little kink in my wire. So if you're doing a project like this, your nylon jaw pliers are really handy to, you know, keep. And I'm sorry, the wire's hitting the camera lens. Sometimes, you know, it is hard to do certain things when there's a camera between your eyes and your hands and you need a length of wire. So I'm going to do my best to share my method. So if you can see, I'm just drawing these two together, and now I'm going to come to this end and I'm going to use this bead. Actually, I think I want to get a few seed beads on, and again, I'm alternating the gold and silver. So isn't it cool? Both of these wires will go through the gold beads. So what I'm going to do is just make a little pattern, and I'll show you as soon as I get them on here. Okay, so can you see what I did? Like, since this is silver, then I went to a gold seed bead and then a little purple, and then I just worked out my spacing so that this bead is going to sit right in the middle of the pendant, and then finished up with a purple and a gold. And this is what it looks like on the back. So you never want the back of your piece to be messy. You know, it should be, your jewelry should be as pretty on the back as it is on the front. And I could have even done this way. It looks like a window, like you're looking through the window at this. But if you did it the other way, where you bring your two wires from the back to the front, then you would have this look on the front. And I actually like it both ways, but I'm happy with this. So now I just have to keep these, decide how I'm going to secure this. So I could actually just wrap right around the neck of the pendant, but I think that I'm going to just pull this away and feed one wire on either side of the bail of the pendant, and then do some creative wrapping from there. So let me see how that's going to look. Try to do it without kinking the wire. I'm going to come right here to this little space. There's one exactly like it on the other side, and I'm just have to coax the wire through there without kinking it. I could cut some of this wire, but I'm not sure what kind of creating I want to do with the wrap, so I want to leave it for possibility there. Okay, I'm just gonna pull it really nice and tight and make sure that the center of my pendant looks good, and get the wires straight again. And so now I have plenty of wire left over to be kind of creative, because again, I want to add some gold to my silver. And so what I think I'm going to do is cross these wires like this around the front and just wrap. Just gonna like put some gold wire wraps on this pendant and get it kind of chunky so that, you know, you can really see the gold laying on the silver. I'm just going to wrap and use up my length and wrap until I'm happy. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to just trim off in the back. It's a little bit of a contemporary like stack of wires, and I do like that this bead does spin a little bit. That's really cool that it's not rigid. And I just want to make sure, just like anything else, that there's nothing sharp. Okay, the first part of my pendant is looking great, and now I'm going to add in this first drop. So So I've made some really small jump rings out of the same wire, and I am going to gather up these 2 jump rings that are on either side of that center spoke, and then I'm going to add in this little drop that I created. It's a little bit to hold on to for sure, because this jump ring that I'm doing my final connection here is really small, and I'm asking it to hold on to 2 jump rings and this drop, but I can do it. Make sure it's closed really well. Okay, so if you can see, that centers this right in the middle, even though there wasn't a space that was centered, and it has a really nice dangle to it. So I'm going to just slide this little stack of beads off of here, and I'm going to get a round nose plier and just make a really pretty spiral. So in essence, this is like a spiral head pin. Just going to put a little turn in there, and pretty happy with it. That's the center. If you want a really closed center spiral, just take a moment to close that loop, and I do. And now I'm just going to get it with my bent chain nose pliers, and in really small increments, I'm just going to push it against my finger and spiral until I'm happy with the size compared to my beads and my pendant. You know, I'm watching the scale of what I'm creating. Okay, I'm going to stop right about there and then make a head pin. Just get right where I get a hold, right where I stop spiraling, and just bend that wire up. I want it to be nice and straight because this is another drop. And now I'm just going to put this little bead pattern right back the way that I arranged it. See if I can get it all in one. There's my little stack. I did just a little gold disc spacer bead on either side of those silver spacers, and it just takes on a really cool shape. And that is my little bead stack. And so here you could do a wire wrapped loop or a simple loop. I think I'm just going to do a simple loop with my one-step looper, but I want my spiral to be facing forward the same as the pendant. So I need my simple loop to be going like, whoops, get on there, front to back. So if you are using the one-step looper, it always makes the loops in an upward position. So I'm going to put the wire in the one-step looper through the guide hole in the back, and I just gently close it so that I can make sure that I have everything sitting here the way that I want it, and make sure this is, you can always adjust your loop, but I want to make sure everything is straight to begin with. And then the tool is going to make a nice fresh cut right here and wrap this wire around the mandrel. And I just go slowly. I don't like crunch down and pop it. I see some people using it that way. I go slowly so that I can see what's happening as it makes my loop. Pull my little stack of beads down and close the tool, and then like here, if I feel like I need to make any adjustment, I can come in with my pliers and check everything, and when I take it away, I just have this beautiful, very easy component. I love my one-step looper, but you can totally do your loops if you like this project any way you like. If you like doing them with your pliers, that is great. So I'm just going to open that loop and connect it to the first drop. Just make sure it is closed really well. And I like to open and close my pliers on my loops just to work harden them. And so this little embellished pendant is dramatic and gorgeous, and it is ready for my leather. So I have made a leather cord out of the same leather that I'm going to do the bracelet project out of, and this will be able to string right on that leather cord, but I could also put it on a stainless steel chain or a gold, you know, simple small length chain. And that is just my little design with that fabulous pendant. So let me put the little seed beads away, and I am going to move on to a bracelet project. So I'm just going to take about a 14-15 inch piece of this metallic berry leather, and I'm going to take my button and start by feeding it through the shank and keeping these ends together. And this is just going to be a simple knotted leather bracelet and just overhand knots. So that's the start. This is a button closure, and I'm just going to do an overhand knot as neatly as I can before I commit to tightening it down. I'll always just look and see if it's laying pretty. That looks good. And then I'm just going to pull really tight. And now this is simple as stringing. So I'm going to use one of these barrel beads to start off with. And this is a plated hematite bead that I just found at the craft store. And so all the way down the length of the bracelet, there's going to be a bead on the one strand of leather and one strand of leather hanging out, and then another overhand knot. And I'm just going to continue like this, creating a bead pattern. I definitely want my cloisonne beads in there. I love these stardust beads, and these bracelets definitely move around, but I'm going to do it so that if my leather is hanging out on this side, that my bead goes on the opposite cord, and then when I do that knot, my leather will be hanging out on this side. So even though it moves around, it will alternate like that all the way down the length of the bracelet. So my next thing I'm going to put on is one of the cloisonne beads. They are hollow, so sometimes they're a little tricky to get your leather through to the other side. Just try to make sure it's nice and straight and be patient. Oh, I got it very easily. Sometimes it doesn't go that easy. And then I'm just gonna like cradle that in. So now you can see I have the leather on the outside here, and then it's gonna come over to here. I just do that even though it moves around, but as I create my bead pattern and move down my length, that's just what I look out for. And just make that knot and give it a pull. Make sure it's nice and tight. And let's see, I think next I'm going to go to that purple crackle bead, and again I'm going to thread it on the opposite side where I have the leather hanging out. So I'm going to put one cord through, and I just pulled these little spacers from my stash. I wish I knew where I got these, because I would definitely buy more, but I can't remember. They might be a craft store item. And so I'm just going to snuggle those in and do an overhand knot. Oh, you know what? I took some of these hexagon 8/0 galvanized starlight beads. I picked these up at a bead shop, and I really love them. They have a large enough hole, and they are galvanized, so they do maintain their shiny color. And I think since I've made like a bead component here, I think I'm going to string 3 of them and see how that looks. Just, you know, to add a little gold on the leather that's going to be on the outside of the beads. Let's see if I like it. Oh, that looks really cool. Yeah, I love that. These hex beads, to me, with the contemporary shapes in the pendant and the cylinder beads, I think that just adds something, and they float a little bit, so I'm going to continue like that. So I'm going to continue to the full length, my desired length, making a bead pattern and alternating which side of my leather. So like now I'll separate these, and my next bead group will go on this cord. And I think I'm going to go back to a cloisonne. I think I would really like to use all three if they'll fit on the length that I need, all three cloisonne beads on here. Let's see. A hollow bead is a little tricky sometimes. Okay, let's check the length. That looks really good for me. And so the little pattern turned out where I got two of these components in. I got all three of the cloisonne beads, one stardust bead, and I started and finished with one of those plated hematite beads, and I just love it. I think this really is rich. It truly is that regal purple. I just love it. So to make the closure, I'm going to do something super simple. Just kind of measure the width of that button and put my thumb there and do my final overhand knot. And before I tighten and like commit, just make sure that the button goes through very easily, that I got my length right. You want it to be snug, but not difficult to take on and off. That looks really good. And I have done a couple of things with this 1mm metallic leather, and it does soften up a lot. So this first little time that I wear it, it might be a little stiff, but get my knot in there. And let's see, let me double check. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then you can decide if you want to add some beads here. I have the cylinder beads. I don't think I would want a bead that big. I could even just do a few of these hex beads on each of these strands and then tie a knot. Try that. Just come down right about there and just tie a last little overhand knot. Just trim and do the same thing on this side. Look how pretty this bracelet is. I love it. I really love it. And so I will do 3 more things before I consider my project finished. These are just things that I do to add quality to my work and longevity. I don't sell my jewelry right now as much as I would like to, just because of the time of photographing and listing it. But if I give it away or even donate it, I want it to last a long time. So I will take my Permalac clear coating and I will brush all of these little findings. I will brush this entire pendant with it and all the way down and just set it on a piece of plastic to dry. And the other thing I like to do with my leather is, if you can see the little white end, is just take a little Sharpie marker wherever I've made a cut and just make it so you don't see the white. Just a little leather working tip. And then the last thing that I will do is take a little bit of beader's glue. You can use GS Hypo Cement. I have this Beadalon bead stringing glue, not super glue, because it dries really hard and crunchy, but I will just take this little precision tip and just put a little bit of glue into this knot. Just like squirt it inside the knot, and it dries clear, but that way as I put pressure on my bracelet, taking, you know, the bracelet on and off, pulling the button through, so just put a little tiny, you don't need much, just like use the precision tip and get that glue inside. And I'll set that aside to dry, and of course I'll clean up my mat and put some pictures up at the end of the video. Also, check the description box. I have a discount code for Curated Bead Box if you're interested. It is a really great value. You get really large bead strands, and it's a box that I've been getting for a really long time. And some of the boxes, I have to say, you know, they challenge your creativity, and then others truly inspire you. So either way, it's a great thing. And as you can see, I was really inspired by this box. I just love these projects. I love these beads, and I did 2 really beautiful things, and I have so much left over to work with. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone's safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, jewelry making friends.